Hello, you join me on the inside of the new Toyota Corolla GR. Or is it the GR Corolla? Doesn't really matter, does it? Because this is probably one of the most awesome hot hatches ever. And I have the privilege of driving it on a closed mountain pass in Cape Town. Sometimes this job really delivers, you know? Sometimes it gives me gives me all the feels. Right, so what is it like to drive the new GR Corolla?
Dream, search, drive. Cars.co.za.
A lifetime guarantee on all repairs is a lifetime of sidestepping, tackling and modeling your speedos happily. Budget, the official insurer of good South Africans.
Well, what are we dealing with here? Well, it has pretty much the same engine as the Toyota GR Yaris. It's a 1.6 litre 3-cylinder, which absolutely blows my mind because they've managed to squeeze 221 kilowatts out of this thing. 221 kilowatts. So it's bang on in terms of power with cars like the Golf R, for instance, not lacking power there at all, even though it's missing one cylinder. But they have totally revised the head of the GR Yaris engine, and that's how they've squeezed out the extra power. They've only squeezed out 10 more Newton meters, however, so it has 370 Newton meters. Not a lot, but you wouldn't really expect too much more from a 1.6 litre. Although we have the brand new Subaru WRX on test as a long-termer, that has the 2.4 turbo, and that's got the same amount of torque. So actually, the torque figure in here is pretty healthy. 0 to 100 in around 5 seconds, depends how good you are at changing gear, I suppose. And that makes it slightly slower than the Golf R, but in the Golf R, of course, you're not worried about swapping cogs, are you? Now, if you asked any petrolhead which brand was going to be making the coolest performance cars in 2023, I'm pretty sure not many of us would have said Toyota. But the reality is that right now, this company is making some of the coolest cars in the freaking motoring world. The GR Corolla, the GR Yaris, the GR Supra, the GR 86. What? When did that happen? Well, I'll tell you what happened. Their CEO is a man called Akio Toyoda, and he is a very, very enthusiastic petrolhead. In fact, he was the one who commissioned the Lexus LFA. He did a lot of the testing of that car himself, and he made sure that it was pretty much one of the best cars ever made, really. And then after that, he thought, right, well, Toyota could probably do with an injection of some fun. And so he set about, this is a good road, and so he set about creating a foursome of wonderful performance cars. In terms of road hazards, Bainskloof has quite a lot. You've got boulders, you've got rain, you've got rivers running across the road, you have baboons, and then just for some extra spice, you have leopards. Yeah, there's actually a sign that says, warning, leopards for 23 kilometers. Not kidding. That is what it's like driving a mountain pass in South Africa. Right, so I'm on my way down the pass, and my plan is to hoof it a little bit on the way up because, well, we have the whole freaking road to ourselves. We literally have cops on either side of the road making sure that there's no one for me to bump into around a blind corner. But I'm just getting a bit of a feel for the car now, and one of the things that's already better than the GR Yaris is the driving position. Unfortunately for me, that GR Yaris suffers from that issue where you feel like you're sitting on the car and not in the car. And I'm sure you could sort that out with a better race seat or something like that. But immediately the driving position is better in the GR Corolla. I'm not mad about where the gear lever is. Of course, everyone is a different shape with different length arms and legs, but for me, the gear lever is a little bit far back, although it's not a deal breaker. Could totally live with it. The gear change feel is fantastic. It reminds me of old Subarus. It's super notchy, it's super positive. It lets you know exactly what you're up to all the time. As you slam the gear home, you get that little bit of friction and that little bit of knock pushing back through your hand, and that just makes it a really engaging, really enjoyable experience to change gear. The clutch is light, although there's a bit of weight to it, so that you do have to put a bit of work in. You don't want it to be too light in a car like this. And the steering feel is, in my opinion, spot on. Although let me rather say that there's not a lot of feedback through the wheel. Maybe I would have liked a little bit more feedback, but the weighting of it is absolutely perfect. So what does your 900,000 Rand get you? Well, it gets you 3 driving modes, so let's engage one of those. We'll engage Sport. It also gives you the ability to choose 3 different configurations for your drivetrain. Now this car has the front diff. The cheaper core model, which is 60 grand cheaper, doesn't have the front diff. And here you can go 60-40 for road driving, 30-70, which sounds exciting. And then if you hit the track button, you get 50-50. Now I'm quite interested in what 30-70 feels like. So let's engage that and let's go. Alrighty, all 221 kilowatts, 370 Newton meters, one of the tightest mountain passes in South Africa, but I have the whole road to myself, which is fantastic. You can just apex the corners like you're on a racetrack. So for the GR Corolla, Toyota have strengthened the chassis. There's braces all over the place. There's almost 400 extra spot welds, and even so, they've managed to reduce the weight by 13 kilograms. I'm not really sure how they did that. And of course, for some extra stability, they've widened the track as well. Oh, that's an interesting hairpin. Gosh, if you go off at Bainskloof, you are not having a car accident, you are having an aeroplane accident. It is an absolute sheer cliff to my left. Now what's quite interesting is this car sounds fantastic at idle, but when you're pushing on, for some reason the exhaust gets quieter and all you really get is engine. And I wonder if that's just got to do with all of these regulations that Europe has put on car manufacturers to, well, make cars less interesting, really. Oh, this road is fantastic. It is so easy to be fast in this car, but at the same time, it's not like it's doing everything for me. It's not like I'm not engaged. I've got stuff to do here. I think in the real world, you could be extremely fast in this car. Powerful rear-wheel drive cars in front of you, if they're not in the right hands, you'll be absolutely on their exhaust. Gosh, this is a lot of fun. I hope watching this, you're enjoying it even as tenth as much as I am. What phenomenal traction from this all-wheel drive system. I haven't been able to make a tire chirp yet. Maybe I'm just not trying hard enough, but at the same time, this is my first run up this pass, and I'd rather get to the other side in one piece. Gosh, what is difficult is to trust when you go around a completely blind corner on the wrong side of the road that there's nothing coming the other way. Let's ring out third gear, a bit of a straight here, 5,000, 6,000 RPM, 120 k's an hour, hard on the brakes. There's bigger brakes on this car, of course, 4-pot piston calipers up front, and that gives you that extra bit of stopping power that of course you need because you've got 221 kilowatts under the bonnet. The ratios from second to third are almost perfectly spaced out, especially for a road like this. Gosh, it's nice to drive a fast manual hatchback again. You do have rev matching technology in here, but I'm not a big fan of rev matching technology. Not because I know how to heel and tow, that's not it at all, but it's because I prefer using engine braking when I'm going into a corner. I really like balancing the brake and the engine braking. It sort of gives me a better feel for the car. The one thing it does have is a little bit of rev hang. It's almost like maybe the flywheel is a little bit heavy, and you want those revs to drop a little bit more quickly when you come out of a gear or come down between gears. A little blip of the throttle sort of sorts that out, but on the way up the gears, you do want those revs to drop a little bit more quickly than they do. Satisfaction. I was once sitting at my uncle's restaurant, and this guy with a very, very thick Joburg accent was sitting in front of me, and he finished his bowl of pasta and he enthusiastically threw his serviette into the bowl and said out loud, "Now that's what I call satisfaction." And that's always stuck with me, you know, as somebody who really enjoyed something that they've just experienced. And yeah, that's what's just happened to me with this GR Corolla. Massive satisfaction. Really, really enjoyed that drive. Look, it helps when you close off a mountain pass yourself, but that was a properly thrilling drive. But I suppose at the end of the day, this is a hatchback, and it needs to do hatchbacky things. It needs to be comfortable in the rear seats. It needs to have decent boot space. It needs to have a usable and functional interior. On the interior bit, I'm not blown away. It's a bit too Corolla-y for my liking. It's a bit plain, I would say. The screen is very small, although that doesn't really bother me. You don't buy a GR Corolla for the screen, and you've got a nice big 12-inch screen in front of you here, and you've got a heads-up display which shows the speed limit and your speed and your cruise control, which is very nice. I quite like all the piano black. It's sort of Toyota's design language. The seats though, absolutely fantastic. Chef's kiss. Nailed it, Toyota. Nice and grippy, very comfortable. You could do long distance in this, you could do circuit driving. I think they absolutely bang on with the seats. But what are you paying for here? You're paying for an incredible drivetrain built and designed by an actual rally team. You're paying for what is probably one of the most powerful engines to displacement ratio that's ever been made. You're paying for really good looks. I think this car looks fantastic. And so the interior is probably the least of your concerns. The thing is, you've bought a hatchback, so boot space is important. Right, the boot. Ash. I was wondering what that noise was. So are you gonna? It's quite a long walk. Ah, and he took my sunglasses!
Alrighty, so I needed to get this car away from Chiro to see if maybe we're going to have an argument later in this video, because I think this may be one of the best hatchbacks maybe ever built. It is so much fun to drive. That 3-cylinder maybe doesn't have the noise that you want out of a hatchback or out of a performance car, but delivers such linear power once it's into the turbo. So impressive from just a 3-cylinder motor. A little bit of turbo flutter. But most of all, on a pass like this, you can just attack and attack. The 4-wheel drive system, you can choose between sort of track or between rear bias, but it doesn't really matter. It's got so much grip at the moment. I doubt you'd notice too much of the difference on something like this. You'd have to be really trying to break traction to feel that sort of rear bias from that sport mode. But I'm just having the best time ever here. Closed road, tight corners, perfect for a hatchback like this. Something too fast and too much power is going to get absolutely annihilated by this hatchback. It is the perfect weapon for a tight road like this. Just having the best time ever. It's maybe not as direct as something like the GR Yaris. It's a little bit longer, so it moves ever so slightly slower, but the GR Yaris is an absolute phenomenon. But this is pretty damn close to second if you're going to pick the most agile hatchback on the market. So good. I'd love to see this up against something like a Honda Civic Type R. Oh, and these Yokohamas that they've stuck on here, it's just unbelievable traction. What a car. It's flipping left, right. Just the change of direction is so fast. And the grip that you get from the front end breaks traction ever so slightly. There's just so much feel in the chassis with this. It's great. All right, I had a quick drive in there. Let me hand it back to Chiro now. Hello.
You have fun?
It smells like I did.
Just clutch and, well, no tires because it doesn't spin.
No, it doesn't. It's got amazing traction, actually.
Yeah, I felt bad because I was hammering it up here and I couldn't get a single tire to squeal. And I'm like, am I trying hard enough? I felt like I was.
It's just, I think a mix of like this 4-wheel drive system and this quite sticky Yokohama rubber just really gives it great traction.
There's a lot of grip there. I think for like an amateur like myself, it's really easy to be fast in a car like this, but I feel like it also doesn't do everything for you. Like you still have a lot to do and it's still engaging. So it's not like a microwave, you know, there's still a lot for you to get done. But for someone like yourself,
yeah, I mean, you can have such great fun in this car. I mean, I think if it was an auto, you'd maybe lose some of that. So I think, yeah, having the manual gearbox being involved in it, but I found with this and the Yaris, you can just keep pushing and you keep finding more speed and more limits in the car.
Yeah.
And it doesn't scare you like 290 kilowatts or 350 or whatever you get in huge powerful cars does. It's kind of like it's got the right amount of power to make it exciting still, and you still feel competent driving it. It's still fast, fun, engaging.
It feels to me like this car has the spirit of old Subarus in it. Like the noise, the all-wheel drive, the gearbox feel, the turbochargedness of it. I don't know, it feels like Toyota is doing what a bunch of manufacturers used to do, and they're just doing it better and in a more modern way. I feel like the interior is a little bland, maybe. Seats are great.
The Yaris has better seats. The Yaris those are proper buckets. I'm with you on almost everything except the sound.
Yeah, no, so the sound, that's what baffles me, because at idle, it sounds great. It really does. It's like throaty and bassy.
Pop, pop, pop.
Yeah, and then you get going, and then all you hear is engine. You just hear cam, basically, the whole way up the mountain.
Pretty much every 3-cylinder ever.
Why, though? And maybe, is it a European thing where they just want all cars to not sound like anything anymore? Maybe that's what it is.
I've never really heard a good sounding 3-cylinder though. I mean, our race GR Yaris has had they took the whole box out the back and straight piped it, and then it makes a proper noise. But
yeah,
as soon as you get in the higher revs, I think any small cylindered engine really it doesn't really make any sound. I think the flat 4 is kind of the one engine, the one small engine that does make a proper
flat four
distinctive
is
sound.
great. Yeah, that's why I bought one. I think the question a lot of people want us to answer here is, A, is this the best hot hatch you can buy right now? And probably B, if we lived in a world where you could buy a Golf 8R in South Africa, would you have this over a Golf 8R?
I'll answer A first. I still love the Yaris to bits. I think the Yaris is probably a better hot hatch for me. This has more power, yes, but I think the Yaris is just a little bit more nimble, a little bit more like furious, and this is maybe a little bit more easygoing on you. So for me, the Yaris is the still ultimate hot hatch, but this is like, it's a close second. I can't think of anything that matches this right now. The Golf R is too sedate, too easy to live with almost.
You'd probably be faster in a Golf R, I reckon.
I feel a track battle coming on.
We need a track battle if we can source a Golf 8R. I think I'd have this over a Golf 8R.
I mean, we've driven it like the 100Ks here and all that to get here. So it's like, drive it on the freeway, it's fine. The manual gearbox, cruise control, everything works perfectly normal. It's not overly hard on your back.
Yes.
Or suspension-wise, it's not overly firm. And then you get here and it absolutely flies.
Yeah,
so it's just hammer it. It's exactly like a Golf R, just I think a little bit more engaging.
They are similar, but you can only buy a Golf 8R manual in America, so.
Yes, if you must have a manual.
You can get a manual Corolla. Okay, so I think 2 thumbs up from me. I'd love to daily something like this. I think this would actually make a great daily.
Yeah.
A lot of fun, looks great. And on a closed mountain pass, probably one of the better drives I've had in a long time.
I think that's what you should actually do, is just save a bit on top of your original purchase of the car to close a mountain pass. And then just like do that like on weekends or once a month, man. This is the best. This is so much fun today.
So if you'd like to close a mountain pass, get hold of our producer, and I'm sure he'll do it for you for one brown envelope. Thanks, Ash. Always fun, man.
All right.
Rad, dude.
Cool.
Right. I'm very hungry.
I'm standing shot here.
I'm going to get a sandwich.
Gonna drive some more then.
No matter how big or small your car is, you can still save $420 per month. Budget, the official insurer of good South Africans.
If you're new to the Cars.co.za channel, welcome. Thanks for being here. Now, we have over 660 videos on our channel. We've been doing this for nearly 9 years now. So if you're looking for a car review for a car you might be interested in, you'll probably find it in our back catalog. And thanks very much for supporting our channel. We are now the largest motoring channel in South Africa, and the aim is to just keep doing what we do and help South Africa make better purchasing decisions. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers.
Cars.co.za.